Crazy Town is killing people because you disagree with them or because you expose them. And the only way to stop that is to do what we do every night on this program. Very simple. Tell the truth. We begin tonight with Bill O'Reilly, host of the No Spin News, BillO'Reilly.com, author of the brand new book, Confronting Evil, Assessing the Worst of the Worst. You can find his content online at YouTube.com/Bill O'Reilly. Bill, always good to see you. You know, we've talked before, I hate doing media commentary, but I think we have to now. I wrote this down after writing my monologue. I want you to tell me if you think it's fair, that much of the media cares more about protecting the liberal narrative than they do about their own credibility.
Well, the ABC report you showed is truly shocking. And that's my alma mater. I worked as a correspondent for Peter Jennings for 2 years. Never could have happened then. But it is a shocking display that the producers of, was that World News Tonight the guy was on, or was it a morning show?
It was their
whatever show.
Live streaming feed, but he's a correspondent for both.
Okay. The producer of that would allow that because it's so insulting to the American public that it's offensive. And I don't know what Disney is doing in Burbank, California, because Disney is in charge. Now, I know they've told the View women to knock it off, to tone it down, and they have, the View women. But this is a correspondent for ABC News that instead of reporting the heinous details of why a disturbed individual would assassinate a fellow American, he's concentrating on their love relationship. That is beyond anything I've seen. I have never seen anything that irresponsible. That lies right at the doorstep of the Disney Corporation. Now, we know from past interactions that it is extremely woke, the whole outfit out in California, that it's undisciplined. Their news product had to pay $16 million to Donald Trump in a legal settlement. And now, after all of the clamor and all of the controversy, you have a correspondent coming on the air and saying that?
I think it's bigger than that, though.
I don't know if there are words.
Yeah, but I think it's bigger than that because it shows that the establishment, that group, and look, you saw CBS's Evening News have basically the same take. You saw CNN say, we don't know what the motive is. That they are unwilling to allow anything to question their narrative. And I think it's dangerous because if we are going to stop what is now very clearly a rising number of radicalized young men on the left, at least a few in the past with trans ideology, clearly this one was as well. If we are going to stop them, we have to tell the truth about who they are, and there is a large part of America that is completely unwilling to do that.
I think you have to be very careful with that, Leland. I don't think you can demonize any group that they have a propensity to violence. That's what the far left does. MAG is fascist. MAG is
no, that's not what I said,
disciples. All that.
No, what I said was
you have to be careful.
Okay, well, I was.
You have to be cautious. All right, I'm not attacking Leland. I'm giving you the overview. The overview is that every news agency in the country has a responsibility to report the facts. And they have a responsibility to put the story in a proper perspective. The ABC correspondent simply didn't put the story in the proper perspective. And whether the alleged assassin has a relationship with anybody doesn't matter.
No. I agree with you. I agree with you. If he has a relationship with whoever he wants, whatever that person wants to believe, whatever that person wants to dress up as, whatever. Doesn't matter. But what does matter, and I think what you said it yourself, is when the left and others keep calling the right, Donald Trump, Charlie Kirk, and others, fascist, when they keep saying they're a threat to democracy, when they keep saying they're Nazis, sooner or later, lonely, disturbed individuals pick up on that and they say, hey, I'm going to fight for the anti-fascist. I'm going to fight against the Nazis. I'm going to do all these things. And when this keeps happening, happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, happened now here with Charlie Kirk, that if we don't tell the truth about what these people, the ideology these people are subscribing to, how do we ever change? The flip side is that when it came to racism on the right, going back, say, to the 1960s, we called it what it was, and we said that racism, that racist ideology, that type of language is a problem because it inspires these people.
The problem here is it's two separate stories. Okay, it's the media irresponsibility, and they refuse, flat out refuse, okay, to accept the reality of this situation. So you can't metastasize it out to Tennessee.
Why do they refuse to accept it?
Let me make this point. Can't metastasize the story out to Tennessee when you had another trans person attack a religious school and gun it down. Can't say that there's a segment of trans who are violent and who are going to act on whatever they're going to act on. That isn't fair. You have to stay in the context of the story. Now, the context of the story, the truth of the story, has now been established. This is a mentally ill man, responsible for his actions because he knew exactly what he was doing, planned it, premeditated, tried to get away.
Left a note.
Okay, but he's mentally ill. Okay, he just happens to be in a relationship with this other person. That's it. Okay, but the guy who allegedly murdered Charlie Kirk is the story, and the story alone. And what drove him to do it is the dark passages in social media. That's where everyone says he was radicalized, and he spent an inordinate amount of time there. That is the truth. Now, what was going on in that dark area, you know as well as I do. The worst evil on this planet is accessible now in a click. The worst evil on the planet. Now, the other story that is equally as important is that you have 5 major corporations in this country that have used their power and continue to do so to prop up the progressive movement in all areas. And part of that is hating Donald Trump and MAGA. That's part of the equation. 5 of them, enormous power being put into hating people who are not progressive, people who are fighting against that movement. And that is never happened before in this country. The propaganda element now in America is higher than it has ever been since our existence in 1776. And no one seems to be able to rein in the Comcast NBCs, the Disney's ABCs.
Well,
there is a glimmer of hope.
Okay, and I would say NewsNation is that hope.
Okay, but NewsNation is new and not established to the extent that the other 5 are. There's a glimmer of hope. Yesterday, I did an extensive interview with CBS News. That never would have happened if CBS hadn't been sold to Skydance, okay? So over there, the culture is at least changing a little bit, and I think it will change more than that. So there's a little bit of hope that maybe the fact-finding aspect of journalism will arise again, because it's been destroyed now. The fact-finding element has been destroyed. Now, CNN is desperate. They are desperate. They have no viewership at all. The only revenue stream that matters is overseas. Their talent is whatever, I don't even know what they're thinking over there anymore. An Anderson Cooper, he's got the slot I used to have at 8 o'clock on Fox, he sits there and allows the most outrageous things to be said. All right, they book guests they know are going to assassinate characters of the president and anyone who supports them. This is what CNN is doing.
Right.
They don't book anybody else. They're exclusionary. That's why Colbert got thrown over the side. It wasn't about revenue for Colbert.
Okay,
It was about defiance.
I'm with you in terms of excluding opinions, because that's real biased. We all have them. Excluding
Right.
one is what is biased. But there is, I think, a larger story here, because the media always held itself out as the umpires, right? Which they would call balls and strikes on both sides, and they would do so fairly. Fairness is now gone. Maybe it's that we just are going into this tribe and that tribe, and each one has their own media folks. This is Hakeem Jeffries playing to his tribe, saying that all of this is the fault of Donald Trump.
And the question that should be asked is, has the president brought the rhetoric down? Calling people sick, is that a reduction in rhetoric? Calling folks who are calling for retaliatory violence or suggesting that one could care less about bringing the country together, is that the leadership that this moment requires? I think we need...
Hakeem Jeffries sometimes has bewildering sentence structures. But at this point, any responsible journalist would say, okay, Mr. Leader, this was an assassin who came from your side, inspired by your rhetoric. Why isn't your responsibility? They're not saying this. And this goes back to what I said at the top, that what makes it dangerous in terms of what Matt Gutman said on ABC News is that the people who are supposed to hold the politicians to both sides and police this kind of thing are not. Therefore, it allows the inspiring of even more assassins.
But that's been going on for 10 years. Jeffries just attempted a diversion, a massive diversion. So the far left knows it's in trouble. They know it's in trouble. One of Charlie Kirk's legacies is going to be the destruction of the corporate media.
That's
it was
what I was
on
getting
its
to.
way, and now it's now accelerated to the point where everyone's paying attention.
Right.
You know, 2 weeks ago,
everybody's paying attention,
Leland,
and everybody knows the truth.
Right. Everybody's paying attention, going, this is wrong. All right, where 2
Bill,
weeks ago, everybody
I'm going to cut you off because I'm
paying
going to get you to something that's, I don't want to say more important, but that we really liked and we wanted to talk about more than continuing this. Roll the tape from Yankee Stadium when Donald Trump was there last week. We're watching it there. Bill O'Reilly stands up. For some reason, he has a shopping bag with a smiley face on it, and out pulls Confronting Evil, his new book that he gives to President Trump. What'd you say to him when you handed him the book?
You got to read the Putin chapter, which is the most important chapter in the book. 20 pages of stuff that nobody knows about Vladimir Putin. And your comments opening your broadcast tonight are scary. I mean, this man is a psychopath. This man, in my opinion, would use nuclear weapons. He would, if his back is against the wall. He's deliberately provoking NATO. Deliberately provoking NATO. It's far beyond the
You think
Ukraine
Trump got
now.
the message?
And I do. I had the reason I was invited to that game at Yankee Stadium on 9/11 was to discuss Putin and Charlie Kirk. So occasionally the president will summon me, and I always answer, because I did that under Barack Obama and under Bush the Younger. When they wanted my opinion, I gave it to them. But those are the two topics that I spoke to President Trump about last Thursday. And it was a serious conversation.
Did you guys have milkshakes?
So there was no milkshakes, but he values my opinion.
Yep.
All right, because he knows that I'm going to give him an unfettered opinion. I'm not going to tell him what he wants to hear, because I don't work for him. I have no interest in doing that. I think I gave him some pretty good advice about Putin, which is in Confronting Evil, about understanding exactly who you're dealing with. Putin is a different man now than he was when Trump was in office the first time. He has deteriorated. Evil always does that. If you are an evil person, you cross to the dark side, you're going to get worse and worse and
keeps
worse.
going down.
There's no rehab for it.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.